Okay, roll that beautiful bean footage. Here's blind reaction number 3 by Kaylani.
Guess who got grounded this morning for a month after he called his mom?
Guess who got triggered this morning and then had a power trip on an underdeveloped brain because he never did his self work? This is what we call a disproportional and unreasonable punishment. That kid said bro reflexively. Punishing people for reflexive actions tells me that you don't know anything about the brain. And punishing kids extremely severely just because you can tells me that you're really compensating for feeling like you had no power as a child. So how about you go to therapy, bro?
That guy was great. He was funny. I think that sounds like a authoritarian style of parenting. That very like it's my way or the highway, but very much so like I would love for all parents to have a better understanding of what's going on with their brain and their kids' brains, because that's a great example. Like he said, bro, like that wasn't the intention to be rude. No, that wasn't the intention. That was a kid being a kid, and like that would be an extreme reaction. I mean, and I'm here for saying kids should be accountable for their actions, but on the flip side, some of the parents who go to the extreme of like publicly humiliating their kids, I'm like, that does hurt my heart. It hurts my heart because that is rupturing the relationship they have with their kid. Like I don't know that they realize that. It's almost like I think that type of parent thinks they're winning, or like, ha, I showed him. I'm like, all you showed him is that you're an unsafe person to trust when they make a mistake. That's what you showed them. That you will shame them for being human and making a mistake, and that you won't understand. There's a different way to respond.
Like so a lot of times parents will respond really harshly to their kids because they think that it's going to like scare them from committing that mistake again. But all you're really doing is just, okay, I need to hide things from my parents. And I mean, I don't know if that original video was like staged or not, whatever it might have been. But regardless, there's almost like this weird subculture where like people want to get back to being old fashioned. So then they'll see like a video pop up of somebody spanking their kid and they'll praise it. And I'm like, I have never like been happy to spank a kid, one of my kids. It's always the absolute like last resort, and like it breaks my heart. So, but then it's like this weird thing, like, I love, it's like they celebrate punishing children. It's like, okay, if you celebrate that, then you're a psychopath. I don't care.
But so here's a weird thought. This was there was someone else who kind of described this perspective, but a lot of parents do this. If I were to get in the head of this parent, I don't think that they are really like getting off on it in that way. I think that the thought is sometimes, I want my child to be a respectable member of society and to do well or to live a good life. And that has meant in their generation that you have to fit into this certain box to do so. So in their mind, they're really just like, this is the best I can love my kid. This is me loving my kid because I don't want them to suffer unnecessarily in the world in the future. Now, I don't know that I can apply that same context to this particular video where the kid just said bro, but I think that can be where a parent's reaction is. But that's not necessarily like the world we live in. You don't have to, you can be an adult in society, and there's been some forgiveness for like, you can say bro and it's going to be okay. Like, like it doesn't have to be that stringent. But I definitely, when I think about my family and the generations prior, like it was different. You like my grandparents' generation was very strict and firm about what was appropriate, what was acceptable. All of society was. So some of the things that we also have to have some grace for previous generations.
Yeah,
like,
true.
I see like the whole like, hey boomer stuff, I thought that was funny too. But at the same time, they did live in a different world, and we're not being very empathetic to that either by continuing this thing, and that just creates more division. There should also be like a gratitude, a graciousness, and understanding there that the society and the elements that formed them were different.
Yeah.
So that's a whole different topic for a different day about like generations and things like that. But that's my thought on that one.